Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the June 2nd Board of Selectmen's meeting. If everybody would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under announcements, just a reminder that next week on Tuesday is voting, and then next Saturday is the town meeting. No additions or deletions to the agenda this evening. Start off with appointments, and we have Mark Dubois from the Poland Spring Water Company that's with us this evening.
Thank you. Pleased to meet you. I'm a natural resource manager for Poland Spring, and from time to time we just want to check in with area communities, see if there's any information we can glean or issues that might be out there that maybe folks don't know who to call at Poland Spring. Traffic issues, water issues, complaints, all sorts of things. So I just wanted to make myself available, pass out some cards should the town get some of that outreach and not know what to do with a person or an idea or a suggestion. So we just wanted to reach out. I'm doing the same thing in Buxton, and I do a lot of town meetings and kind of outreach for the company. So I just simply wanted to extend an invite to give us a call. We also have an open house that's coming up this fall. Well, it's actually August 29th this year, right before Labor Day weekend. And last time we had an open house was 3 years ago, and I think about 6 towns came. So we also wanted to get the word out about that because a lot of fire department folks and people volunteered in different aspects of the open house. It wasn't just a Hollis or it wasn't just a Poland open house. It was huge. So we wanted to start spreading the word about the open house on August 29th as well, to see if there's any synergies or things that might work out for the open house as well.
Okay. Well, I can say that I know one issue that we have. I live on Chadbourne Ridge Road, as does John, and we get the stray trucks that come up Chadbourne Ridge Road thinking that the snowmobile trail is actually a road that's going to get them out all the way through, and they get in there and they realize they can't get any farther, and there's really no way to turn around, and we ended up with a tractor trailer, I know, this winter on the snowmobile trail.
Nice.
So you see those probably, one every couple of weeks you see a tractor trailer truck going up through there, and it's like, they're going to have a surprise when they get to the top of that hill. So I don't know if there's a way of getting the word out maybe to probably newer drivers.
It's been a common problem. We actually started a traffic management committee in Hollis. It's met a couple of times now since April. But it's a real common problem. We're getting the carriers involved as well and trying to do our best contractually to keep them on the route that was designated. There was a big problem that I really didn't realize didn't happen until I didn't realize it happened until I was at a meeting last week. But the 53-foot truck network changed since we installed the factory in 2000. About 2005, 2007, the state of Maine opened up the 53-foot truck network to more roads.
Yep.
So when we opened the factory, it was supposed to be on 117, and DOT did improvements on 117. They helped the shoulder out. They put a lot of money into the road base. But then subsequent to that, they opened out more main roads to the 53-foot truck network. So they can legally get on the state highways, but this doesn't sound like a state highway.
No.
And the GPS is another huge problem that we're trying to work with. The base contracted carriers that we use, we can get them to take segments, and we started to do that this year. Take segments of road, like 35 is a big problem coming up from the southeast and trying to cut tolls or whatever they're doing, coming over 202 from Sanford. So we actually had some carriers take 35 out of their GPS on the trucks. But there's a lot of smaller truck people that just use iPhones.
Right.
And I've seen the same thing. I saw people geocaching, which is a sport, to use your GPS. A couple from Alaska was driving the fields in Hollis, 2 years ago, out in the middle. Thought they could get to Leamington from Killick Pond Road, and just out in the middle of the woods, thinking that the roads would connect. So it is a very common problem. We're trying to work on anything we can do to help improve Google Maps, the carriers map base themselves, and then also right up front when they contract and take the load to sign off and make sure they have the proper directions.
Yeah.
We can do a lot better on their outbound because they can actually at the shipping office hand them directions and say, respect our neighbors, please stay on this route. so they can actually make that delivery, but when they're contracting and getting the inbound tankers is what, the inbound trucks is what's been the biggest problem.
Yeah. And that GPS, if you're looking at the GPS, it does show that as Chadbourne Ridge Road is a road that goes all the way through.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Same as that couple that thought they
Yeah.
could get to Leamington across Killick Pond and with their car. Yeah, so it's a very common problem, and we want to hear about that. We heard about some people, even Hollis residents, worry about trucks taking Waterboro Road over. So we're trying to dissuade that, of course, with the carriers as much as we can, because they're not supposed to be on that road either.
Yeah.
So
I was going to mention that because they come out by the town hall here, obviously, and they go across and they go on the old Alfred Road to get over onto 202, and we're having a lot of problems with old Alfred Road because the state has turned that road over to the town in terms of maintenance and stuff, and they put a skinny mix coat on that they said was going to last 10 years, and it's breaking to pieces over there. Fortunately, we have our Public Works Director sitting right behind you that can probably tell you more, but those trucks going across there are gonna, exacerbate that already deteriorating condition.
sure.
So,
Yep, I think the same problem coming in from the east. We've got some Canadian truckers coming down and taking Gray exit and coming over through Buxton. So I was going to visit with the Buxton Selectmen too and just try to spread the word on traffic management, what we're trying to do, DOTs at these meetings as well as carriers, and trying to get them on the right route as much as we can contractually. DOT has certain limitations on signage. We're trying to stretch those limitations and see, what can be done. But they're giving us basically the same sign that you'd have for an ice cream shop, down on 202, and we're trying to get them to move that location back so they don't overshoot 117, things like that. But that might be a legislative fix at the end of the day, because a big facility like that should have a pretty good sized sign to direct truckers, not just the same thing as an ice cream shop.
Yeah.
So there's some legal things that they can't do that we'd like them to do to help improve with signage. They can't post some of these roads. I heard Waterboro Road might receive a little bit of federal funding. I'm not sure if that's true. In a recent meeting, like there was some sort of upgrade at some point that may limit what could be done on Waterboro Road. I don't know if these are true statements or not. But it's definitely trying to keep them on the state highways. They shouldn't be on these small roads at all. So
I haven't heard anything about any funding other than what they're doing down on 202 in South Waterboro. That's partially a federally funded job that the Shaw Brothers are doing along there.
Okay.
But other than that, have you heard anything, Gary?
Not other than that one. I don't think I know all the details of what you're speaking of.
right, and it's just a rumor that I heard of too. I didn't know if it was true,
Well,
but
it'd be
people were
nice
talking
to-
about whether that it could be posted or changed. Waterboro Road on this side, and somebody mentioned that it's a pretty significant road.
You still
for
got
other
up Dave
people.
going up your road?
No, yeah, I was gonna say, they haven't gone up my road for quite a while now. There was a water plant.
It says Killick Drive, so.
Yeah, I'm on Killick Drive. They used to drive down to the
Oh.
cul-de-sac and get stuck on the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
I think,
I had-
so most of that's, you haven't seen that happen in a while?
No, not since, we had a guy with a thick Mexican accent that got stuck there, and he insisted I was on the right road, even though I said, look around, you're not on the right road. And I offered to back the truck out because he kept getting stuck, but I almost ran over him. I still had my Class A at the time.
So we appreciate everybody's patience on it. It is a big issue, and trucking in general, I don't know if you heard on the news, like last summer, it's going to start affecting everybody's rates for everything. There just aren't enough truckers around.
Yeah.
I think by 2025, we're going to be like a really serious situation. So that's why there's a lot of different trucks coming in from different directions, is you can't get enough trucks in Maine to support the business.
Part of why they're looking at also extending the length of trailers.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
anything they
go.
can do.
Yep,
Yeah.
53 to 55.
It's going to be a huge issue over the next decade. As even we have drivers that have been with us since the 90s, driven millions of miles, and when they retire, there just isn't 3 people in line for their job. It's just not that way right now. So
Any other questions?
pass out some cards.
Doug?
We should remind them that if they can do anything we should remind this gentleman that if he can do anything during the construction process on 202, when the traffic is backed up there, and a lot of it is truck traffic that's they're repaving 202 from East Waterboro to Alfred, and we've had delays there of long periods of time and traffic backed up for 2 miles at a time, so, you know, the fewer the trucks that are going up and down there, the better it would be. And it's tying our trucks up too a lot.
And that's supposed to go till November, correct?
They say
Roughly.
September. We'll know more tomorrow. There's another meeting tomorrow, and so, but anything you could do to divert the ones that are leaving there, especially, keep them on 117 rather than coming across the old Alfred Road and going down, just because the volume of traffic is
And
unbelievable.
you see them leaving too, doing that?
Yeah, well, we see box trailers, you know, we're not sure where they're coming from, but I do see some coming up here as we travel up and down this road, so we know there is some.
They're gonna be
I know that
grinding there pretty soon, aren't they, in South Waterboro?
What's that?
They're gonna be grinding that road in South Waterboro, isn't it?
Well, they've been grinding the last 2 days, to prepare for the joints.
So I'm passing out cards for both myself and Heather Printup couldn't be here tonight, but
Oh.
she's our community relations manager. My name's not Heather. And then I'll give one to you also, like a set of cards. And your name, Doug?
Doug Foglio.
Doug Foglio.
Well, you would think if they're meeting with the DOT on a regular basis, that somebody on a DOT would say, oh, by the way, can we get this project on 202?
Yeah,
You
it
wouldn't
definitely
think we'd have to coordinate that, right?
Every Wednesday at
it
10
wouldn't
o'clock.
hurt.
Yeah. but
DOT meets here locally. If you want to go to that meeting,
Oh, okay.
anybody can go.
Talking about road improvements and,
Talking about the 202 project specifically, so you can find out the status of it.
okay.
You could call Doug or myself and we can tell you what.
Well, the DOT guy that goes to his meeting ought to be able to know about it.
Right. But how often do you meet with DOT?
Once a month now.
Oh.
It's been twice in May, but we met once in May and once,
Have they
well,
given you
twice
any,
in May, I guess.
have they given you any details on this 202 project?
No. We were mostly, imagine you guys see the issue out here probably in a different wave than some people see it on 35 or other roads in Hollis. I mean, some of these issues are pretty acute for people, on especially 35, if they miss that turn and don't take up 117. They're coming in from the southwest. A lot of them are heading up 35, and so it's causing a big problem in that direction. So they did not bring that up, but DOT was mostly focused on the signage we could do, what they could help us do to improve communication, because we do have non-English speakers out there coming in. They're using their own GPSs in some instances, whether they're coming from Fredericton or south of the border or where they're coming from. We need a lot better signage and a lot better way to get them on the right road. Unfortunately, DOT can't say no. They can't tell them that you can't be on 202. It's legally, they can be on that road. They've spent their gas tax or whatever to be on the road. But that's what I say, when they're outbound, we can do a lot better with, please respect the neighbors and get on the right traffic. But I guess there's a big distribution center over in New Hampshire as well, so they're cutting across after, dropping off a load in New Hampshire. I don't know if it's Walmart or what the distribution center is over there. But that's one reason they're a little bit north of the turnpike as well, using 202.
And Shaw's
Shaw's, yeah.
warehouse.
Right, yeah. I mean, they can jump right over to 35 pretty quick there. So there's different reasons. I used to think there was just drivers trying to evade tolls or something, and they were, jumping on 202, but it's not that simple. There's other reasons they're on 202. Yeah. So that was it. Don't mean to take a bunch of your time, but wanted an outreach point in case you're getting outreach from your constituents.
Great. All right,
Okay.
well, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to appointments. The 2020 Master Planning Committee, Bob Powers. I'm gonna guess you're gonna be our speaker this evening.
You want me to do it now?
Right now. So part of the referendum vote next week is for asking the town to approve the Comprehensive Plan Committee's recommendations. The Comprehensive Plan Committee has been working for 5 years now and has put a tremendous amount of work into drafting this comprehensive plan. We have some documents that are available on the town website. We have some fantastic literature here at the town hall that people can come in and see. And so the 2020 committee would like to just give us a presentation tonight so that folks understand what this is all about and what they're going to be voting on next Tuesday. So Bob, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Also, I'd like to introduce Diane Holden, who's one of the original members and one of our most important members. She, in addition to having a good background about the town, she's just been a tremendous secretary for us. So really appreciate all of her efforts. We've been pretty busy since we last reported to you, and the last time we reported to you was back in April of 2014. And as you know, we've completed 10 chapters as well as an executive summary. We've held 2 informational meetings. Bridget McCallum and I did an infomercial about the plan last week, and through the hard work of Dave, we now have everything that we've done up and running on the website, which we're really pleased about. We've also placed copies of everything that we've done at the library, and you have them here at Town Hall. As you know, we generated 10 standalone chapters, and all but one of them feature what we call action planning strategies. In all, we generated about 125 different action planning strategies, and we hope that these will serve as guidelines for the town as it moves forward. The 10 chapters that we produced, as you know, economic development, energy, future land use planning, governance, hospitality and tourism, infrastructure, open space and natural resources, population and school enrollment, recreation facilities, and village planning, in addition to the executive summary that we did. I want to share with you again how the committee operated over the last 5 years. The first thing we did was we developed a vision statement for the committee, and that vision statement was on our minds throughout everything that we did over the whole 5-year period. The next thing we did was we held a series of visioning sessions in which we generated input from the citizens of Waterboro relative to what they felt about the town. We heard their likes, their dislikes, their passions, their suggestions, and we utilized that information continually during our process. We tried to make each chapter fairly colorful, so we included a lot of pictures and graphs, and we did that to make them kind of user-friendly, if you would. Many of them contain what you might call local flavor, because we did a lot of research about what's going on in town since the 1600s. Many chapters contain components in them that correspond with components in other chapters, and we did that purposely. And in just about every chapter, we tried to express what we learned about the town in the past. We analyzed what we have today, and then we tried to express what we think will be good for the town in the future. Again, we think our suggested action planning strategies are a unique and tremendously important component of our plan. I want to emphasize that the committee was a hard-working, hands-on type committee. We were fortunate to be able to hire some very good professional resources to help us, but our committee always was very strong in setting the guidelines for those people that we hired, and after we received their input, we made the determinations that made up whatever our action planning strategies were. And we felt that the resources were very helpful to us, and we were very fortunate in some of the firms that we were able to employ. The 4 major firms that we hired and the chapters that they helped us with were Woodward and Curran, who helped us with the energy chapter, the Conway School, who helped us with the village planning chapter. The James W. Sewell Company helped us with the infrastructure chapter. And then Planning Decisions in Portland helped us with the projections that we did in the population and school enrollment chapter. I don't know if you want me to go through all 10 chapters briefly. If you do, I'll be happy to. I'd be pretty much repeating what we did at the information meetings and what we tried to do in the infomercial. I could say generally that we made a lot of what we consider very important recommendations to you in the form of those action planning strategies. Some of our chapters were more intense than others. For example, the infrastructure chapter is highly technical, scientifically based, and we generated some really good data that I think is going to be helpful to the town over the long haul in that chapter. Do you want me to go over each chapter, or do you just want to ask me questions that Diane and I might be able to answer about any of them, or what would you like?
I think this is a great opportunity for you to educate the voters. So whatever you think
Well,
is
I can do it
best.
real quickly, and I'll kind of read it if you don't mind. A lot of the information that I'll be using is the same information that's included in this little document that we call our executive summary. And it'll be similar to what we did at the informational meetings and what Bridget and I tried to do in that infomercial. I don't know if you've seen that or not. I haven't had any calls from any directors in Hollywood or anything yet, so I guess it's not as popular. So let me run through them quickly. I'll do this alphabetically, except I'll combine two of them as I get into it. The economic development chapter contains some really interesting historical information about Waterboro in general and about economics in Waterboro in particular. The chapter features a comprehensive document titled Waterboro's Economic Vision for the Future, which the Economic Development Committee generated. And just want to mention that the documents that we did with the help, in a lot of cases, of other groups. For example, the Economic Development Committee helped us with the Economic Development Committee. You folks helped us with the governance chapter and so forth. That vision that the Economic Development Committee developed addresses 9 specific economically related areas, and those are marketing and communications, planning and development process, energy and sustainable development, land use and sustainable development, regional cooperation, education, cost of doing business and financial assistance, types of development, and infrastructure. And incorporated in those 9 areas are over 50 different action planning strategies that deal with economic development in Waterboro. The energy chapter was one of the first ones that we did, and that identifies and describes 12 energy strategies that are tailored specifically for Waterboro. And that's one that we had the assistance of Woodward and Curran. I'm going to combine the next two. The village planning chapter and the future land use chapter really go hand in hand. The village planning chapter was developed fairly early in the committee's deliberations, and the future land use planning chapter is a logical follow-up to the village chapter. The future land use chapter utilizes a thoughtful approach to visualizing 8 significant areas of anticipated change in the near future in Waterboro. It also introduces the master planning tool of rich visualization called transects. And 8 transects along Route 5, routes 202 and 4, and along the West Road corridors represent geographical areas that will likely experience growth potential over the next 10 years. The village areas that we dealt with in the villages chapter are obviously included in those transects. The governance chapter, which you're familiar with, represents organizationally and operationally how the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator envision that the needs of Waterboro citizens can most efficiently and effectively be met now that we have a recently revised town charter and you have a fairly newly elected town administrator.
Appointed,
Pardon?
appointed.
Appointed. Oh, yes, appointed instead of elected. I said elected, but I knew better than that because I did read the charter. And I was on the screening committee, so you can blame me for part of this. The Hospitality and Tourism chapter summarizes recent regional and global hospitality trends and recommends 3 action planning strategies related to promoting the hospitality industry in Waterboro. And the chapter also focuses on tourism. And we concluded that there's a tremendous potential for Waterboro in the tourism industry. And getting back to the visioning sessions, one of the things that came across very clearly to us repeatedly was there's no place in town for my company to stay except at my house. And I don't really want them here. I want them at a hotel or someplace in town. And there's no place in town where if we want to have a big family gathering or a wedding or something like of that nature that we can rent. So those 2 areas came across clearly. And Waterboro's location and all the other attributes that it have make it a very attractive place for people to pass through on their way from the ocean to the mountains, or from the mountains and the lakes to the ocean, or wherever they're going. So the tourism and industry and hospitality industry really has some potential for the town. The infrastructure chapter focuses on 2 major areas. The first one was Waterboro's infrastructure, which we define as including water, sewerage, transportation systems, electrical power, and high-speed internet. And the other area focused on identifying parcels of land that might be suitable for potential business parks or industrial parks. The chapter also includes a comprehensive analysis of the town's geographical features such as wetlands, lakes and streams, aquifers, soils, and slopes. The committee, as I mentioned, contracted with the James W. Sewell Company in developing this highly technical chapter, and one of the end results was the development of a series of town-wide planimetric maps, and some of those are included in that open space and natural resources chapter for the town. Another end product is the development of a component in the town's website, which has the potential of enabling Waterboro citizens and staff to access a wide array of very accurate and technical data. In short, Sewell made several short-range and long-range recommendations, and our committee made some specific action planning strategies, or developed some specific action strategies on several of them. The biggest areas that the Sewell Company addressed, as far as I'm concerned, were the issues of water and sewerage. Water is obviously one of our greatest assets. It's always vulnerable. It's an area that we need to look at as the town evolves. And the issue of sewerage is an inevitable issue that the town is going to have to face at some point. The Sewell recommendations included suggesting that the town really needs to develop some sewage treatment plants. And because we have so many wetlands, and we don't have any rivers that flow directly to the ocean except for Little Ossipee, which goes to the Saco, which has got all kinds of restraints to it, Waterboro is going to be in a pretty tough position to deal with the sewerage issue. Our committee concluded that in the foreseeable future, 10, 20 years, we can probably get by without having to build 3 or 4 sewage treatment plants. By that time, I'll be long gone, and probably a lot of you folks will too. But at some point, the town is going to need to bite the bullet and do something about them, because it's just inevitable that if we keep pumping sewerage into the ground through our local septic tanks and whatever, that at some point contamination is going to be an issue for the town. It's already an issue But we're very fortunate in that we have good quality water right now. The lake, according to Sewell, is a very healthy lake, and the aquifers that we have are pretty substantial in town, so there are a lot of resources. Our basic recommendation is that probably in the reasonably near future, 10, 20 years, sooner than that actually, the water district should probably be expanded so that people won't be relying as much on drilled wells, dug wells, and points. And that should help stave off issues if sewer, septic systems continue to produce and eventually contaminate the local private water sources. So that's a big issue that the town needs to deal with. No matter what route it takes and no matter when it does it, it's going to be a major issue, and it's going to be very expensive, but it's going to be tremendously important. The Open Space and Natural Resources chapter explains how Waterboro's geographic features, its easy-to-reach location, its unique natural resources, and its numerous open spaces endears the town to local residents as well as visitors. The chapter describes several of Waterboro's historic places. It's ongoing events that we've had for years, popular historic points of interest, and its extensive multifunctional system of trails. In this chapter, the committee recommends that the town re-examine and promote the use of cluster zoning and mixed-use zoning. Such zoning practices could serve as vehicles for preserving existing open spaces and the town's rural character. And the town's rural character was one of the things that we heard in the visioning sessions repeatedly that citizens want to preserve if possible. They also wanted to have the amenities that go along with big stores and a lot of services that you'd find in larger communities, but they definitely wanted to maintain the rural character. In addition, this zoning approach could provide innovative options for logically managing the town's inevitable growth. And the town is going to grow. There's just no doubt in our mind about that. The chapter also addresses the need for the town to be proactive in judiciously managing the many attributes that make Waterboro such a special place. The population and school enrollment chapter is a historical and forecasted population and school enrollment analysis. The chapter consists of 15 tables of data and corresponding descriptive narrative, and the population data for Waterboro is presented in a pictorial timeline format. If you're nice and tall, you can see the picture of it up there. The projected school enrollment data is depicted in a separate but similar pictorial timeline. The population projections for Waterboro incorporated 4 different levels of economic conditions, and the projections are made for each of those conditions. It's just a fact that we learned in our research that economic conditions really play an important role in population growth or stagnation or decline in a community. But in short, no matter what the economic conditions are, Waterboro's population is going to grow, we feel. It's going to age because that's what's happening in Waterboro, and that's what's happening in this area, and that's what's really happening in a lot of places across the country. So it's going to grow, it's going to get older, but regardless of what the economy does, it looks to us like, and based on the projections that we did, that the school enrollment is going to continue to decline. The Recreation Facilities chapter analyzes Waterboro's recreation facilities, and it recommends 6 short-range, relatively inexpensive or easy-to-implement action planning strategies. Generated 4 longer range, moderately expensive or difficult to implement action planning strategies. And we developed one long-range, far-reaching, innovative, highly expensive, major capital action planning strategy, a community center down the road. That kind of, in a nutshell, highlights the 10 chapters that we did. At one of the informational sessions, one person said to us, it looks like you're promoting growth. You're promoting the town to become a city or something of that nature. And we just want to emphasize that we weren't promoting that the town not grow, that it should grow, or whatever. What we were promoting is that it's probably inevitable that the town is going to grow, and if it does grow, it ought to have some guidelines to go by that will guide it so that it can control its own destiny rather than having outsiders come in and do stuff to us. So that was kind of a guideline that we followed throughout our deliberations. Be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have.
So if the comprehensive plan passes, which I hope it does, what's going to be the next step to make sure that all the work that the committee has done for the past 5 years continues on?
Well, our committee ceases to exist, I think, right after the plan is
I think
passed.
the ball comes to us.
And then I think it's up to you folks, really.
But what would your vision be? I mean, the committee must have talked about what's the future, what needs to happen in the future to make sure that this continues on.
Well, some of the overriding recommendations that we made in several chapters dealt with how different entities interact with each other. We observed early on that communication could be better, cooperation could be better, common goals should be developed, people should be respectful from different committees, different entities. The specific steps, we feel, and they're kind of outlined in the governance chapter, are going to be determined pretty much by you folks, because you're the focal group in town that really has the power to make things happen. We see, ideally, you folks facilitating a lot of different people getting together. One of the things that we think would be very helpful to the town, and we recommended it a couple of times, is that volunteers could play a greater role in Waterboro's community. And we even suggested that you might want to get a volunteer coordinator. We think you could probably do that without even having to pay anybody anything to do it, but someone who could do some training of volunteers and help you find volunteers to fill different slots that you have open in different entities in town. And we think that that would be a very positive thing to do. As far as implementation is concerned, there are a lot of biggies in these different chapters that we've cited. But again, cooperation, communication, respect is really critical. We definitely feel that there ought to be a lot more collaboration between the town and the school district, the town and the water district, the town and the county government, any of those entities that really serve the same people that we all do, that we ought to be working together, and we ought to be kind of pushing in the same direction. I understand that you folks have started looking at some of the action planning strategies, and I think that that's commendable. And as far as other committee members, I can't commit them, but I would be happy to always be available to give you my input based on what we did in this committee at any time. I don't know if that answers your question specifically, but it's a big question. It's important. We designed the chapters in such a way that they would be usable. We didn't want to have a big thick notebook that would sit on someone's desk or on a bookshelf and never be used. We feel that each of those chapters could be taken and looked at and utilized.
And that's kind of where I was going with that question. I know that it falls on us, but I want people to understand that this shouldn't be a document that just after
We'd feel
next
sick if
week,
it
should just sit on a shelf somewhere. This is just really the beginning of the comprehensive plan. John?
Sure.
You have 10 chapters, 9 of them have recommendations. So these 9 chapters are going to be vying for spotlight and funds. With that in mind, is there, over the 5 years, is there something that jumps out that says needs immediate spotlight attention, needs a lot of effort, that needs to happen next year?
Well, the general one about communication, cooperation, that I think should be done immediately. And frankly, I think that's something that you folks can control, that you can take the initiative in doing that. As far as the other specifics are concerned, well, in the recreational facilities one, there was some really simple recommendations that we made there that could have been implemented a year and a half ago. For example, a walking path on the across from Friendship Park on Oak Street and those streets that make a U-turn back to Old Alfred Road. If you could just paint a line along the side of that, as we suggested, put some sign up and say this is a walking zone, drive carefully or something. That could be done in half a day. As far as other ones, the issue of water really needs to be looked at. And the data that we got from Sewell, I can't emphasize how scientific and accurate and really right on it is. They just, and it blew my mind away, that the amount of water that you generate a day is woefully inadequate. I mean, you've only got 50-odd customers, but if you were to get many more customers, you'd be in big trouble. So you need to find a water source. You need to find a way of storing it. You need to find a place where you can probably put another standpipe so that you can have pressure to work for the town. So water is a big area, and it's obvious to me that the town and the water district need to come to some kind of an agreement, and I think our committee did a pretty good job of getting that started. However, it kind of petered out at times, but the town and the water district need to work together because you've got the same population that you're serving, and it's silly to operate in 2 different wavelengths and badmouth each other and all the kinds of things that have allegedly happened over the years. So water is a big issue. You ought to look at technology, the high-speed internet, and everything related to what all the people today are using, except for me, is just, you got to get on board. Almost every facet of life today is centered around technology, and that's an area that you need to make sure that the town is adequately prepared in. The power sources, I think you're in fairly good shape, but if you're looking at any major new industry coming to town, that's going to be a critical area. You're fortunate that your highways are really pretty supportive of industry possibly coming into town. The technological stuff that Sewell gave us, which dealt with slopes and wetlands and all kinds of other factors that industries are going to look at, you're in fairly good shape, although you do have some limitations. There are an awful lot of wetlands in Waterboro. But you have some very good sites too that could be utilized. I don't know if that answers. Anything else you can add, Diane? I'm babbling on here. Good job.
I think when, if you read through all of the chapters, and again, I think this has been a Herculean task that has been done, but there's I think there's one common denominator, and that's, call it what you want, but it's town infrastructure,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
and if there's one thing that we have to attack, and it's town infrastructure, and that's it might not be that the roads aren't in the right place, but the roads need some improvement. We need to know that the communications or broadband network needs some work. You're limited only to a few sections of town that have phase 3 power. Then you get into the water issues and the sewer issues, and so even and especially from the economic development side of it, huge piece of that has to change to be able to attract or keep businesses within the community. So I think we'll find as you start to distill down the action list and whatnot, that some of those fall into a lot of them fall into the infrastructure bucket.
They do.
Gary?
I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Diane and Bob and the whole rest of the committee. You started years before I ever got here, but the work that you've done is going to be used. There's overlapping issues with those 120 plus tasks, but that's the job of the committee to get out through those and filter those into a cohesive set of actions that actually have a difference. But thank you very much for everything you've done. And I know, Diane, you've been a much bigger part than a lot of people know behind the scenes, so it's much appreciated.
Thank you. Just in closing, I say I hope everybody votes on June 9, and I know the committee really hopes that they vote positively on this article.
We usually have, for the last 5 or 6 years, maybe longer than that now, developed goals in usually late July and August, administrative goals. Right here, this should be a big part of our goal setting. So, maybe we invite you back in to work with us on that.
I don't think we're gonna let Bob and the committee get away very easily. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob.
Moving on, is there anybody from the public that would like to speak?
I think you do have this gentleman here.
Doug?
Yeah, well, there's no other place on here for me
Come up
to
the-
speak, wanted to talk about a couple things. We finished our work on the CIP projects for the year. We've done everything we intended to do, and we're ready to move on to next year if it gets funded. But, we have a issue, kind of a position that I told Gary today, kind of like a oxymoron. There seems to be a lot of work that comes up that wants the Public Works Department to do, but there's no funds to do it with. So, if you want this work done, How are we supposed to pay for it? Where's the money supposed to come from? So I get emails from this one, I get emails from that one, we want this work done, we want that work done, we want some other work done. So we need to come up with a guideline of how we're gonna do this job, or these jobs. They may seem small, but they're, expensive sometimes. So how are we gonna handle this? We've changed the picture of how the municipal government runs with a charter, but we still haven't got the working parts of it down to where they should be. We went down and put a water system in at the ball field, Friendship Park, which is done, completed, and, it worked out pretty good. And there was some money set aside, there was money enough set aside to buy the materials to do the job, or somewhat of the materials to do the job. So we did it. You expect us to maintain plowing, sanding, and doing the public park and ride area at the ball field. You want it kept up, you want people to use it, we want to be eco-friendly, but yet we have no funds to maintain the parking lot. How are we supposed to do that? Where are the funds supposed to come from? You ask Mike, and he doesn't have it in his budget to do that kind of maintenance. So I'm here tonight to, ask you how we're supposed to address these things.
Well, I guess if there's work that should have been done, then we should have budgeted for it.
How
And that
do we-
would be incumbent on the department heads to plan accordingly.
And how do we handle these things that aren't budgeted for and aren't planned for?
Working with Gary to see if we can do them, and if we can't, then we can't. John?
Should we go to the
Yeah,
next budget?
I think when you say a whole bunch of little projects and things, that the director of Public Works and the manager sit down and create a monthly schedule, which you probably do anyway, but and say, here are our priorities for the month of June, and get those out. So therefore, if I'm expecting something to be done and I don't see it on that schedule, then I talk to one of the two people that set the schedule and say, hey, got too much stuff to do, the priorities are here, or it's not funded. Then therefore, I'm not sitting here thinking, okay, when is he gonna get to this? When is he gonna get to this? No, he's not gonna get to it June, it's not in the schedule, so I know that. So I think in some cases, maybe that schedule gets out, so you don't keep on getting, when are you gonna do? When are you gonna do this? Why isn't this done? It's not as high enough priority. Here are our highest priorities for this next month. And then, then the person might go away for a month. I mean, I'm a part of this because I have a couple of projects that the committees that I sit on keep on asking, when's this gonna happen? When's this gonna happen? I said, okay, I'll get in and ask them. But if I have something coming out at the beginning of the month and it says, we do not have time for your project here. We're not gonna get to it this month. Okay, then I know that.
I'm not sure as time is the issue as much as funding the particular thing that they want used. I don't know if we need to have like
It's not funded.
a
You don't.
contingency account that he bills into his budget that's, that a determination to be made when something arises that hasn't been the subject of, long-range planning, that you can say, okay, do we have the funds in this contingency fund to be able to do this or not? I don't, I'm just throwing that out there as a talking point, not necessarily to say that, that's the answer. But, Madam Chair, there is a young lady at the back that has a comment.
I'd just like to make a comment.
Would you,
So folks back home can hear you, Judy.
Pardon?
So folks back home can hear you.
I just want to make a comment about a list of priorities, and there's always going to be real priorities, and then there's going to be maintenance priorities. And do the maintenance ones just get shoved? You know, is there a point where something can rise to the top? You know, if it's just a small thing, it's always going to get stuck on the bottom and never get done. That's pretty frustrating too. And it doesn't necessarily mean paving. I mean, it could mean anything.
There's a lot of small ones, and that's part of what Doug is talking about. A lot of small projects that are valid,
Yeah.
things we need to do for our own buildings and properties.
Right.
At this time of year, when other big projects are trying to get done before the end of June, there's not enough time with our 2.5 people to get those things done.
Thank you.
But the issue gets back to, there's a budget, and we understand that things happen, right? And they come up and they crop up during the course of the year. And I think we're flexible enough with the way that this whole thing is structured that we can look at something that now becomes a top of the priority list that may not have been on the top of the list from a budget perspective. But, you know, I mean, I think it gets back to the fact that you still have to work within the constraints of the overall budget. My concern is that we've got, you know, as of a week ago, we still had a lot of capital projects that weren't done. And we're down now to 4 weeks.
Such as what?
Well, you got $49,000 in a building project that hasn't happened. You got $11,000 in equipment that we haven't spent a dime on. So something in those two categories didn't happen that should have happened. So there's $59,000, $60,000 there that, unless something happened in the last 7 days, I'm not sure.
Well, the $49,000 that's left in the building is not my money, okay? Of the money that's under my control, we've spent out of $1.1 million, we've spent just under $1 million of it, and the rest of it will be spent by the end of the month. We'll have a very little budget left. We have $50,000 left in the paving. You know, I stood before you and said, you've cut all the trees out here, let's stump this and grub it. Never been an action to take it. Now the trees are growing up, and John's group would like to have me start taking down these trees. Should have been stumped and grubbed and loamed when the trees were cut, and then you could have gone in and done it for a few $1,000s. It would have been done. We need a septic system put in at the town hall next door. Nothing's been done. The house next door is in ill repair, and that's not getting fixed. And where are we gonna put a septic system when this one goes bad? We put in for paving the parking lots here at least 3 separate times when Nancy was here, and every time they got pulled out and denied. So, you know, these projects have been requested, and we keep just saying, no, 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 we're not gonna do that. So, back a few years ago, if you remember, 3 years ago, I came before you and I said we have a little money left in the paving account. And I have reached out to Dayton, and they had agreed to redo the parking lot at the library for considerably less money than they had bid it out before. And you said, okay, have you done the projects you had in mind? And we had $10,000 left, and you said, spend it. And we did. Last year, the water was pooling up. We was having all kinds of problems at the South Waterboro station. We had mud, we was trying to plow it. And again, I said, we have a little money left in the paving. And we went down there and did all the work, put in the catch basins and redone it and repaved it. So the money that's approved for jobs, when we get down to the end of the year, you know, this, like I said, we've changed what this is. We're not the road committee anymore, we're the Public Works Department. That has a much broader base to it. It has, it's, if you read what it's supposed to do a lot more than we're doing. But, you know, with the budget this year, where was you gonna get more money without going up on the taxes? And everybody, I think, sitting in front of me, the people that I see sitting here, you know, was willing to do what we had to do. But a lot of these other projects, there just wasn't any money. There's only so much money you can raise. I mean, I think that's a given. I think we all agree on that. So my point is here we are, down to the end of the year. We've got some more work to do, but there may be a little bit of paving money left when I'm done.
So I think we can, I mean, if you're looking for an answer, the answer is we do exactly what we've done for the past couple of years, right?
Yeah?
There are some projects that, like the library parking lot, that's a perfect example of putting a little bit of money left in the budget to very, very good use,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think anybody would argue with the fact that that was a good move, right? And I think when you get down to the last month of the year, those are the kind of things that happen. And I think that's where, you know, there's gotta be really some exercise of what do we have left and what can we go do? I mean, there are gonna be projects that pop up. Right?
So that's where we're at. We've done what we're gonna do. We've done the whole new dam road. We put all the surface on that. They're gonna come up and put the crushed gravel on the shoulders. And, when we get all that done, and what other little projects we get done, there's gonna be a little bit of money left in there. Is there objections if there's money left, if we start doing something down to Friendship Park to put some pavement down in that park and ride area so that when we try to maintain it in the winter, we can maintain it without plowing mud, without plowing stones, without plowing everything up onto the field that Mr. Risky's trying to mow during the summer, and when he gets down there in the spring, he's got shovel all kinds of material up to do it. And re-clean the whole area, because we pushed all the gravel that was in the parking lot up onto the loam area. So I don't, you know, want to be put on the spot. I don't want to put Gary on the spot, but I'm saying.
But you are the two that have to be on the spot.
Well, that may be, but you're the people that's gonna put the fire
I mean,
under
Gary
us.
certainly isn't bashful about asking an opinion on Friendship Park parking spot. And my response is, if we've got a road to put it on and there's a project, then I'd rather see it on a road, okay? But if we've got accomplished what we've got accomplished this year, and we've still got a few shekels in the account, then I think that's a good decision by you two to go do that.
You know, one of the things that we have now with the Public Works Department is we have control over what we're gonna do. And we didn't always feel that control when we had a road commissioner, because road commissioner was elected and might have had his own agenda, and it might have been slightly different from what the agenda was of in here. But now you're all working together, so now you can say, okay, a project comes up, it's not funded, we're not gonna get to it this year. It's not gonna happen, it needs to be funded. We have another project that comes up, it is funded, but right now, we don't have the time to do it because you two set the schedule and the time got trumped by more important things. More timely and more important things. So now you know what that is. And you're gonna take the heat from below or on the side from department managers that want their project done. So, but you'll take it, and then you make the decision, and you'll take the heat for the decisions you make. But at least everybody knows where we're going with it. At least everybody knows that in the next month, this is gonna get done, and this isn't gonna get done.
Well, I'm not afraid to take the heat for what I do on the roads, okay? And I'll make the decisions and, you know, stand up and argue with it. But, you know, we've broadened the base, and we've got to sometime decide. We're talking 5% roughly, of the total paving budget to put some pavement down in that parking lot down there. And that's a rough estimate.
And under the charter, you own that parking lot.
Yeah, I know. I know, I do.
Just
But-
like you
but-
own,
But I don't like it when somebody says, well, that's not a road. But by the same token, you know, the state just tonight wants $25 million to extend the railroad, and they're gonna take it out of our gas tax money. So, you know, we gotta be diversified.
Is that going to Poland Springs?
No.
Okay.
So, John, to answer your question, tomorrow morning, we're gonna clean this up, then we're going down to the library and do that. But, you know, all right, we're gonna make you happy, but while we're about it, you know, all our other projects that we have planned, and, you know, right or wrong, I leave some money in the budgets. I got money left in my culvert account, okay? Because if something come up as an emergency, we should have a little bit of money.
Something could happen on June 30th, and if you've got no money, what are you gonna do?
So I leave some in there. I will order the culvert to replace what we got. If you go down there right now, you'll see that we got a bare yard. So, you know, we have an inventory of what we had for culverts. Gary was kind enough to put in a big sign order, so the people who have been missing their signs, they come in last week, we'll put them in. But, I guess I guess I can take the quiet, that, you know, nobody's arguing, that, you know,
You
we'll
call
see what
it,
we can
it's
do.
the silent, what did you say, the silent majority?
The silent majority, okay? And the four of you are the silent majority, so, you know, probably won't get cooked.
Well, if there is monies that you don't have earmarked for a specific task already, and it's there, and that parking lot would be much better suited to long-term use by people that get down there and watch their kids play sports, they've got to park somewhere, or people that go to work, use that as a parking ride, and it makes it easier and more efficient to plow it than pave it.
We buy a rig that costs us $6,000 to put on the front of a tractor to plow it with. It has a rubber cutting edge that the gravel just destroys it because it's made to run on pavement, so you can clean it. The last thing I'd like to say is that, you know, referendum question 1, because I don't know if any of you have seen the Smart Shopper today, but I put an ad in that
Nice.
asking people to vote in favor of that, trying to explain that it'll pay for itself over 14 years and what we can save, and that we need to move ahead. If we're gonna maintain the roads in this town the way the people want them maintained, we need the material to do the job with. And in order to do that, we need to have the capabilities to store it. We do not have the capabilities to store it, and we're wasting a lot of money by not doing that. And this project will pay for itself, and I hope everybody gets out and votes, and I hope they vote yes on question 1.
Right.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because some of the feedback that I've been hearing is that they're not necessarily for it, but they're totally unaware, and I don't know how, what more we can do. We've mentioned at every possible venue that we can, is that they weren't, some people are not aware that we might face a DEP mandated solution down there if this salt shed, you know, doesn't go through, because DEP approves that as part of capping those old lagoons so that it doesn't spread to the Bartlett Brook area. So I'm hoping that in these last few days, that by mentioning it again at this forum, that will get out there, that you know, that aside from saving a lot of money on salt in ordering costs and trucking costs, and, you know, losing it just because the rain leaches it out, because, you know, the building or the big pile out there that the former road commissioner had was just leaching away, so we had to buy twice as much salt to do the job once that we wouldn't have to in the future. And
Well, Gary's going to a meeting tomorrow while I go to the 202 meeting on salt. There's a big problem because Morton ran out of salt this winter, and we run the risk if the way the weather's changing. If we run out of salt, you know, I don't know what the people are going to do. They're going to be very unhappy with the road conditions that they have. If we can put in, you know, 1,000 ton of salt. And remember, this building has a movable wall. We have gone from 5,000 yards, I'm sure that Dennis can remember, the salt sand piles that we used to have, 5,000, 6,000 yards. We're down now to 3,000 yards a year. And we save a lot of money not having to clean it up, and we have a lot better roads. We're bringing our roads up, we've smoothed out a lot of them, they're plowing better, so we can scrape them cleaner. We're working with it. Also, if we have to have an engineering firm come in here and do a VRAP on that, they want toe drains, they want liner, then they want a cap on it with a vinyl liner. I mean, $100,000 will go away quicker than you can say Jack Sprat.
That's to cap the lagoons if
That's
you
to
don't.
cap the lagoons if this thing doesn't fail. If you take the 100,000 off the approximately 650 we feel it'll cost, this thing will pay for itself in a 10-year period. So either way, we better be ready to spend some money.
Anybody that picks up a shopper is going to see that one page. The big thing that I urge people to do, you're going to see it and you're going to know that it's going to be voted on. Read it. Take 5 minutes and read it, and you'll have the reason why you should be voting yes on that. But everyone's going to see it that opens that paper. But now, if it just takes a little time to read it, you'll be informed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Correspondence, we have the treasurer's reports, and we have the 127th legislative information that was provided by Representative Prescott at our last meeting. Reports and staff initiatives, selectmen's reports. Dennis?
Two things. I want to remind everybody that Town Cleanup Day is this Saturday. So you can take whatever you have to the transfer station and not have to pay any disposal fees. So that is this Saturday at normal hours. And if you're not aware of it, be prepared to set in line for a while because it does slow things down at the transfer station. The other thing is, I think we all on this board and Gary have just received an invitation to the annual Eco Maine meeting, which will be held the 18th of June, 11:30 to 1:30 at Eco Maine. Usually they put up a big tent outside, and it's a fairly well-attended function. So if anybody is interested, make sure that you let the folks know at Eco Maine that you plan on attending. So that's all I have.
Okay. John?
Okay.
Gordon?
As Dennis mentioned about invitations, we also have in front of us an invitation to participate in the Old Home Days Parade, which is scheduled for July 11th at 10 a.m. What is nice about this is that we're having it again. We went a year without the parade and without the Old Home Days, and due to some great citizens in this community stepping forward, they managed to put this thing together again so that the whole town can enjoy it. So I hope to see everybody there on the 11th and that subsequent weekend for some great fried dough or pulled pork or some games or some music and camaraderie and friendship, and hope to see you down there. And the fireworks.
Hey.
The selectmen have been known to hand out a little candy, much at the consternation of Dr. LaRiviere, who's our dentist. but it's fun.
Your County Budget Committee continues to meet on Wednesdays. We've accomplished a lot of work thus far, to the point where we're actually going tomorrow night to start taking votes on the budget line by line, and if we get through that tomorrow night, then we'll be setting the public hearing, which will likely be set for the 17th or the 24th of June. And that will wrap up our work as long as everything passes, and get the budget to the commissioners timely so that they can do what they need to get the assessment out. So It's been a very positive experience this year. There definitely has been a change in the way that the budget committee and the commissioner's office and the county manager interact with each other. It's been very cordial, helpful, polite. It's been a very pleasant experience this year. Moving on, town administrator's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll delete some of the items I have because they've been stated by the selectmen here. Like Doug said, he'll be meeting tomorrow for the weekly meeting on the DOT paving project. And if there's more information coming out, we'll put that on the website and email it to the mass email list we have. Excuse me, pardon me. Be meeting with Biddeford Savings Bank later this week to update our payroll software. I'll be going to a winter salt meeting tomorrow at Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission. And in terms of the cleanup day, Dennis is right, there's probably gonna be a long line. We've learned of a new pile of tires discovered that's over 1,000 tires, so they'll be coming
Tell me you're
to.
lying.
No, I'm not.
1,000?
1,000 tires. The last pile that was, the old garage there was 5,000 to 6,000 tires, and that took 2 years, but this one is supposedly coming down all on Saturday, so. Bring your knitting or a book with you if you're gonna be coming to the transfer station. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to new business, discuss vote on committee appointments. So this evening, we have Matt Brooker, Diane Brooker, and Woody Shute that have all applied to the cemetery committee. And what's the pleasure of the board?
I will move that we accept each one of the three onto the cemetery committee.
Okay,
Second that.
any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. Next on the agenda, discuss vote to schedule public hearing on the proposed highway entrance ordinance. We've had a couple of workshops now on the proposed ordinance. We've had the legal review done. I think we've pretty well got that to where we're ready to schedule it for a public hearing. We could schedule that for June 23rd, which is 3 weeks away. Is there a motion to schedule that public hearing for June 23rd?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All right, so Christina, if we could get that posted,
Perhaps the final public hearing.
we hope. Next, under new business, is discuss forming an ordinance review committee, and this was on the agenda at the request of Selectman Littlefield. So, Gordon, I will ask you to share your thoughts on this.
I think that during, candidates night, when other candidates for the upcoming position of, or one or two of the selectmen, one of the candidates mentioned that our ordinances, and it's something we've recognized as a board for some time now, that our ordinances are often outdated. Some of them are downright antiquated and don't even really are not really applicable to the times now. And so just because they're a candidate and they may or may not get elected doesn't necessarily mean that some idea that they broached isn't worth looking into. And I think this one certainly has some strong merit because we really need to have all our town ordinances brought up to date. See if we can't get those codified and into a one book that's easily accessible to everybody, and it's clear, and it's understood. And I just think that this is an important project for some individuals in town that have some wordsmith ability, or maybe some legal ability, just general writing skills and so forth, to come forward and be a member of this committee, to sit down and systematically go through all these documents one by one and get them brought up to date.
You think it would be a productive meeting for us to just do a workshop and quickly go through the book and not get into the minutia of all the words, but to determine whether or not an ordinance even has to be addressed in the future, or is a candidate to be just deleted or canceled or whatever? I mean, we own the cognizance of all the ordinances, so I would think that we could do
Clean out the chaff and.
yeah, to go through them one time, maybe say, okay, this doesn't even make sense anymore, and put that on a future selectmen's agenda to just kill it, okay, or suspend it or whatever. And then out of that, you're gonna get a pack that say, these are gonna need some work, right? And they've gotta be reworded, and, you know, I think you're gonna find a lot of them are gonna go into that first pile that we can just plow through.
John?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's it. At the beginning of that is a selectman's job, maybe with some help too. But going through and putting them maybe in 3 piles. Needs immediate attention, needs attention, okay for now. And then say, okay, now you get that committee together and say, oh, the immediate attention, these are the things to start off on, and this is what we'd like to rewrite in the next 6 months. You know? So, but I think the beginning of that is we are the ones that probably know what's outdated, what needs attention.
That'll be somewhat of an educational experience as well, because there's gonna be stuff there that, you know, nobody's uncovered, opened up for years.
That would be a good task through the summer, because our agendas during the summer months tend to be a little bit lighter, kind of once we come off of town meeting and before we start rolling into the next budget prep season, so. Gary?
And one other thing, once a comp plan hopefully passes, the last time we gave you a list of comp plan strategies and tasks, excuse me, I think it was 88 items. Now it's gone up by 40 or almost 50. And I think we'll need to take that list and look at that with ordinances in mind, because there's going to be a lot of ordinance work embedded in that.
So it kind of seems like the consensus would be we'll start with the selectmen basically cataloging the ordinances and going through them, and I think, you know, we could just plan on having that starting in July, maybe making that a part of our routine agenda.
I mean, of those that you have that are immediate, there's gonna be some of them that you're gonna be able to do very quickly, and some of them they're gonna take a lot of thinking, a lot of debate and rewriting. And so you might say, okay, what we're gonna do is we want some success right off. You know, do some ones that need quick, that you can do quickly, and say, okay, we changed those in the first month, we changed 2 or 3 of them. Now you get some momentum going.
I think we'll identify some that perhaps need referral too. For instance, you know, updating the planning board ordinances and things. We may say that, okay, we're gonna refer this to the planning board, and this is the criteria that we'd like them, you know, to look at, and then have it come back, you know, for review. And it may, you know, there may be things that we would farm out to road review committee, or, you know, one of the other committees that it directly has an impact with. So.
You might find that you don't even need a new committee. We might find that with the committees that we have that are impacted by the different ordinances, we might already have the structure in place, and maybe what we do is once we go through the ordinances, maybe what we do is we have an all-committee meeting, which we haven't had in a couple of years now, and have everybody come in and say, okay, look, this is a task we're taking on, and just consistently say, this is what we want to do, this is how we want it to look, and then assign out projects with a timeline to everything, so that we don't end up looking at this 2 years from now and it's still kind of sitting there.
And that's where that committee may come in handy to do some of those, this new committee, because I can see that you could overwhelm the planning board, which is still now one member down, not two, but still fairly new and working to do regular process things and doesn't have a whole lot of time to tackle what is gonna be a very huge project if all those zoning and other planning board related ordinances get sent just to them. Once we get into this, it'll be a much blacker hole than we might be thinking right now, which is a good thing. I'm all for it. We need to do it.
You want some uniformity in writing too, so if you have one committee writing it in this way, another,
Right.
so you're probably gonna need.
And Natalie can help because I know she has lots of red marks in her ordinance, and she can already take us to some places that she's ready to suggest some changes and probably text.
I would much rather see the bulk of the revisions accomplished by a committee before we send it to the attorney.
Yes.
Because we can rack up a lot of attorney's fees, and a lot of times I don't think that that's necessary. If we have a final product, or at least we're close to a final product, then have their office review it. But, you know, piecemeal through the operation, I just think it's gonna.
I think the driveway ordinance is a good example of that. I think I was probably one version too late in sending that to Natalie to get her down and to iron out those legal things there. And I think that it can be a good time to send it maybe a little earlier than not, so that if they make substantial changes, that committees aren't wasting their time thinking about good ideas that don't stand up in court.
So why don't we say July 14th is gonna be our first July meeting, and we'll start having that on our agenda to kind of start tackling those.
Boy, that's late. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've got one more meeting this month.
So when
And
do
that'll be the
we
public
elect, do we elect officers at July 14th? Or
Chair,
Next
next week,
meeting.
next meeting.
next meeting here? Okay.
I'll just mark that tentatively on my calendar, Madam Chair.
Moving on, old business, we have none. Other would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 26th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? And one abstention?
I'll abstain. I didn't agree with what you guys did that night.
No pending decisions, a week's action list. Christina will get in touch with the committee applicants and let them know that they've been appointed to the cemetery committee, and take care of getting the Highway Entrance Ordinance public hearing posted for the June 23rd meeting. Discussion of agenda items. We'll have the election of chair at the next meeting. A discussion on LD1's place on the warrant. We need to start thinking about the town administrator's annual review. And we'll have the public hearing. Anything else?
Yeah, we need to pull the trigger on establishing this hybrid committee or whatever that oversees the comprehensive plan items.
Implementation.
So, I mean, I think a real quick straw man of that committee's gotta be, you know, a couple of members from the board, certainly the town administrator and the chair of each committee. I mean, that could be defaulted later, but I think the committee has to have a representative of all the boards and committees within the community. Planning board, etc., but we need to do that sooner than later.
Okay. And that'll be providing it passes.
How about if, I'm talking to Christina now, so she and I can both write a note here. Let's pull together all those tasks, the 125 that are in the fully completed 10 chapters now. Just add the other 2 chapters to that list of 88 that you and I have already done.
Right.
We'll have that for you for the next meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to put it on pending decisions or another agenda item, but I want to keep this particular topic somewhere in view so that we don't allow it to slip back, and that's this issue of that parcel of property that could be possibly used as a town-owned football field. You know, developing some type of plan. I know that the Public Works Director has indicated that some of that gravel, you know, may be mined out of there, and part of that agreement could be that the area would be reseeded so that it's usable for, you know, sports space. And I would like to see it somewhere on our agenda so that it stays
We'll lift it.
in the back of our mind here.
We'll list it on there as, under old business for an update, so.
Okay, yeah,
That-
that's good, yeah, just as long as there's a tickler in here that keeps it, you know, to the forefront.
Okay.
Can I comment on that briefly? There are 3 lots identified in the Townhouse Woods subdivision. I can show you where those are now. The little research we've done, we haven't gone out there on the ground yet. Didn't happen today. I think 2 of the 5-acre lots, plus or minus, are rather damp. The other one is 17 acres plus, and I'm not sure the topography on that yet, but we know where they are.
It's not, there is no, I mean, the topography is, Doug is right, it's a major gravel excavation project first, before it's a field.
To flatten it.
Yeah. So there's some revenue there, but it's not gonna come cheap to do that.
Okay.
It's not a readily available playable field.
Yeah, it's not a turnkey operation, yeah, I know that.
And I would think that if somebody's really looking for some of that, they'd visit with Victor Wright or somebody that has a huge tract of property that might be able to be converted fairly quickly, like down at Torrey Hill, what they did down there, but anyway.
Yeah, there's some nice
Those
fields down there.
were just barren fields, I mean, for years.
Well, we'll have that on the agenda. That'll give us a pretty full June 23rd meeting. Reminders will.
I will be here for that one.
Very good, and hopefully be on. Reminders will scroll on the screen after the meeting, but we'll remind folks again that Tuesday, June 9th from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. is Election Day. Voting is at the M.R.S.A High School on the West Road. And then on Saturday, June 13th at 10 a.m. is the annual town meeting at the middle school. All of the information on the warrant is available on the town website. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I don't want to adjourn.
You don't want to adjourn?
Second, with a little brief clarification,
Yeah.
it's M.R.S.A East, the former junior high.
Yes.
Not at the high school building, it's the building, the other building.
Yep.
And with that, I will second the adjournment.
All those in favor? Thank you and good night.